Welcome back, Inebriites. This is Andy as always. And today we are joined by the Brooklyn-based band Man Lee. So we have Sam Reichman and Tim Lee. Welcome to the show, guys.
Hello, thank you.
So happy to be here.
So I have some questions about your press release because I was curious on exactly what this meant. It was something about how the band was formed via I-95. Did you guys move around a lot? Is that like where did that what is the story behind that?
Well, it means a couple of different things.
Okay.
The our relationship, Tim and mine, we are um, life partners as well as artistic partners, and we've just continued to cross paths at various stages in like our adult life, early until now, up and down I-95. We have a lot of we've spent a lot of time in like Richmond, Virginia. Tim used to live in DC. I was living in New York, and we started writing music when we were dating long distance. And I don't know if you have the app Loopy, or
No,
you
I
might
don't even know what
know
that
what that is.
is.
Oh, it's like a $2 looping app with 6 tracks,
Oh,
and
okay.
we would plug that into the car with an aux cable and just spend hours making all kinds of sounds come together
Oh, like while you're
Yeah.
in the car?
while we were in the car as
Oh,
well.
that's
And
kind of cool.
yeah, we love just riffing in the car because like what else are you gonna do? And Tim's partial to the pocket operator these days, so we bring that on every trip down to see our folks and stuff like that.
Oh, that's cool. I've always said like some of the best conversations I've ever had with my kids were in the car. And it
Yeah.
because you have nothing else to do other than talk, and it's just you get on weird topics. And I think that's a really cool idea to kind of you know, entertain yourself on a road trip to like make music while you're going. That's awesome.
Yeah. Yeah. It's fun and it got me out of overthinking making songs initially because if you're just you're just vocally scatting into like a loop. It's it necessarily lowers your inhibitions about like or expectations about what a song should be and needs to be. So
Yeah, no, I totally get that. I've been talking a lot lately about how when it comes to my artwork, I can be like a super perfectionist control freak, and I have found a lot of success by I do a lot of figure drawing, and I have started to do like single line drawings where you put the pen down and then you don't pick it up until you're done, and it builds in this the only way I can explain it is like an excuse in my brain where it allows me to not worry about perfection because you're like, well, yeah, it's not perfect. It was one line. So,
mhm.
and the results are, I'm so happy with doing it that it's kind of like that fail safe to be like, well, yeah, it's fine if it's not perfect because there's no way to make it perfect.
Yeah. Totally. I think a lot of the best art is made when you're not really trying to make something a certain kind of way.
Did any of the car music end up on the album?
I think in a very loose kind of sketch way, I think some of the scats may have evolved into being those songs, but none of the actual vocal recordings from that made it into the album.
Yeah.
Quality would be way too low,
Yeah.
but the like thematically, we have a track. It's the last song on the record, "Night Driving," which
I was actually
very,
just listening to that. Yeah,
very much came out of a road trip.
that's cool. Yeah, I
Yeah.
haven't been on a
Yeah, and
road
there
trip
is a
in
sample on
ages.
that, I guess, of just window drag from being in the car, which
We have a lot
so
of
there's that.
car-centric details in from like a sound recording, I'm sorry, from a field recording standpoint, that have made their way in as well. It's like it's just vibey. There's themes that we talk about all the time about like how we shouldn't even own a car in America, especially where we live. We're like very lucky to be able to have a car in Brooklyn, but it's like this daily existential crisis I think that Tim has about being a car owner anyway,
Hmm.
uh, that we're always like questioning, like, why are we doing this? And like, what does it mean? What does it all mean?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I just want to live in urban utopia, that's car free and bikes and all that. So.
So Denmark. I, I
Yeah.
was I was over there and I was blown away. Like we went by the town hall and where we would have a parking lot full of cars, they had just this huge space out in front and it was all bicycles. Like and there must have been like 500 at least.
Yeah.
And it's just that's how they got around.
And they don't even like need to lock them up, right?
That I can't speak to. I'm sure. But they also have weird things where they not quite like Uber, but they have like if you had Coca-Cola would buy a bunch of bikes and brand them and then just leave them around town. You could just go over and take a Coca-Cola bike and ride it around wherever you needed to go. So
Free ad.
they get the advertising and get a ride. So it's just a different mentality over there. It's
Hmm.
yeah, it looks very enticing right about now.
Yeah.
uh, um, so this is your first album, right? Hefty Wimpy.
It is.
Hefty,
Yep.
hefty, hefty, wimpy, wimpy, wimpy.
Is that what that's referencing?
100%.
Oh, that's funny. I never even made that connection. I'm such a growing up in the '80s. I'm such like an advertising sponge that like I can't remember people's names, but I can still tell you exactly what is on like a Big Mac. It's
It was the best, cringe, but also like enchanting era of advertising, in my opinion.
yeah, yeah.
Like,
I think there was a bit of innocence to it where like the people being advertised to didn't see the damage, which I don't know if that's good or bad.
Yes. Yeah.
But they were so much more entertaining. The where's the beef ad and um have you guys I feel like you guys are quite a bit younger than me. There's a phenomenal game. You'd need a VCR to play it, but I think it's called Commercial Crazies, and it's all like these insane um commercials from the 1980s, and you'll like watch the commercial and then you have to answer like trivia questions about them. So then, like halfway through the game, you're trying to be like, all right, there's 97 pink flamingos, and it's 3:30 on the clock behind him, and there's five guys standing to his right, and then they ask you like, what color is his shirt? And you're, damn it!
this
See,
is
you guys have to
amazing.
be pretty observant. You have to be watching those things closely.
Yeah, it's super fun, and I feel like it's one of those things. If you play it too much, then you're just gonna know the answers. But it's so of its time. Like it comes with a VHS tape to play,
Yeah.
and but it was super fun. It was just that perfect. And now, like thinking back, you're like, oh yeah, playing the game, all you do is watch Wendy's, and you watch the ads that they're trying to still sell you stuff. So it's very very
That's
80s,
genius from an advertising
right?
perspective.
Yeah. And then
Yeah,
they
we
probably
were. Oh, go for it.
oh, I was gonna say, and they probably charge the board game company to use their ad. I mean, that's
Yeah.
sorry, Sam,
Pretty
you were gonna
good.
say
Oh no, just that we were to give you a sense of where we're starting, we were the Sega Genesis like generation. We were like,
okay. Oh,
yeah,
you're
yeah,
not
yeah.
that far behind
We're
me.
not yeah, no. We're very much in our mid 30s.
Okay, all right.
Yeah,
I'm
we
a big
remember please be kind, rewind and all that. So
okay, all
yeah.
right, nice, nice. Yeah, I was a big Sega kid. One of the things we started doing recently, we do retro video game nights, And my business partner's like, I can tell you grew up with Sega. And I'm like, why? He's like, you keep buying Sega games. And I'm like, well, they were the best.
Yeah, yeah. Sonic was pretty great.
Yeah. I'm a big fan of Toe Jam and Earl
Hmm.
and Road Rash. Those were the ones that we played like 4 hours.
Yeah, yeah. Road Rash is pretty good. That's a good time.
But so back to the hefty, wimpy thing. Um, what inspired you guys to finally put out an album? Like, I shouldn't say finally. I don't know how long you were working on it, but w- what made you go, okay, like let's turn our car rides into an album? Not that that's exactly how it worked, but
Tim, do you have any thoughts?
Hmm.
Because I do. I just,
Yeah, you go.
wanted to the floor. Um, so it was a long time coming for us for sure. Um, but the kick in the butt that at least I needed to take the next step or leap was getting laid off from my job 2 years ago and finally having the brain space to consider what it would take to complete this project. And that's when I reached out to our producer and now friend, Laura Faye of Arthur Moon. And I had just been following them for years. Tim and I were both, obsessed with their music. And I just had downtime on like a Wednesday at 2 p.m., which I never would if I had a job. And just was like DMing on Instagram, like, hey, you don't know me, but and that was like the thing that made all of our songs come together in a way that made sense. Um, was just having someone like Laura Faye, who like is obviously an excellent producer, but also someone that we just really trusted their opinion.
mm-hmm.
Um, so that's the like straightforward answer. I think from an existential standpoint, it was like a bit more like the moon and the stars just kind of like coalesced at this time when we were both ready for it to.
It's
Yeah.
so funny being laid off can be so liberating because like Inebri-art had always been my side hustle. And then I worked in marketing and I organized trade shows for a stainless steel company. And when COVID hit, there was no trade shows for at least a year.
Hmm.
So I got laid off, and then I was just like, well, now seems like as good a time as any to try to turn this side hustle into a full time gig, and it's all I've done since then. So it's just
That's
sometimes you
amazing.
need that band aid ripped off for you, you know?
Yeah, totally.
Oh my gosh. And if you're not like going hard at life on your own, if you like have a buddy
Yeah.
or like a support system of friends and family, like y- it it is such a privilege for something like a layoff to be expansive,
Hmm.
right?
Yeah.
I feel that so much.
Well, I mean, I got laid off at, I mean, the most ideal time ever because, I was able to collect. But then they're like, hey, we're going to give you an extra $600 a week. And you're like, oh, I mean, I can do whatever I want now. So
Yeah.
it, I hate to think back that I'm going to look at COVID being a good thing, but, my life has improved so much in those few years, it just,
So lucky.
yeah. But the big drawback is I do not know what day any day is. I know most of the time where I'm supposed to be, except the last time I was supposed to record with you guys. um, but
Uh,
yeah, like I'll run into friends. I'll be like, "Oh, I hate Monday." They're like, "It's Thursday." I'm like, "It feels like Monday," and it's I have absolutely no idea what day of the week it is. So it's unreal.
that's as it should be. We shouldn't have to organize our weeks by you know the schedules of corporations and and all that. I think there have to be better ways to organize our weeks.
Yeah, and I mean it really kind of shows you how oh man, was it Ford that was kind of the guy that was responsible for the weekend? I
Oh,
want to.
kind
Well, it
of
was
probably in like
there were labor movements
Hershey.
that
Yeah.
it was the labor movement that advocated for the weekend and fought really hard against, I imagine, against people like Ford. But yeah, I
And
think
then
if
like
not for the labor movement, we'd be we'd be
Oh, see,
working.
I think this
Yeah,
the well, and it could be apocryphal, but the story I heard was like the Ford was pushing for the weekend, so his employees would go out and drive more on the weekend. Like, that could
that's
just be a
amazing. That's an
yeah.
amazing spin. But also, I think it was like so they'd stop dying in the factory if they were overworked. Like there were a lot.
I don't
There
think he
were a lot.
cared.
No, I agree. I don't think they cared. Yeah. You look back on that stuff in history, especially being so far, what feels like being so far removed from it
Yeah.
in the
yeah,
21st century, and then um, the stuff they don't teach you in school, you're like, huh, I feel like I should know this.
One of my favorite podcasts that I listened to for years and years and years is stuff you missed in history class, and
mm,
it's exceptional. And they get a lot of flack from a certain type of listener who's always like, "Oh, you're always doing stories about people of color or women," and they're kind of like, "Yeah, because those are the people who are left out of the history books," And you're
yeah,
like, it's it's amazing, just like stuff that you're like, and I get it, you can't teach everybody everything in a school year, but there's just some stuff that's left out that you're like, how is it that the winners write the history books, and you can and totally see it when you kind of go back and really pick apart things, and it's sad in a lot of ways.
yeah,
100%.
Yeah.
yeah,
But yeah, it's that's why like everyone who has the brain space to be able to go seek out a podcast like that or like actually read a book from another POV from an era, you're like, that just feels like a gift. And then sharing that with other people or like writing a song about your frustrations about it is very helpful.
Yeah, and it's, I think, doing, and that's kind of what like brought this whole podcast around is, initially I pitched it to my editor, and he's like, I'm like, I want to do a podcast about art. He's like, art's visual, that's stupid. And I'm like, all right, I'll get back to you. And then like I really thought about it, and after seeing some things, I'm like, no, I want to talk to creative people because we're kind of all the same. It's like we do creative stuff to generally work out either our feelings or kind of, like, I find drawing very meditative. So to me, it's like a escape. So
hmm.
do you guys have that when you're writing? Do you feel like it's one of the things that really kind of shuts my mind down the most and quiets the conversations that are going on out there. Like when you guys are writing music, like what's going on internally?
I know Sam has that particularly.
I also want to hear your answer. I think the like yeah, it's the quieting of the mind. The only time that like I feel like I'm able to think straight is when I'm like getting something out. And I was like, oh, hold please. I know this is an old quote, um, but oh, where is it? Oh, Edith Eger, the opposite of depression is expression. What comes out of you doesn't make you sick. What stays in there does. And I like I came across that years ago, and then like it came up again on I want to say TikTok yesterday, and I was just like, that's it.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a great example for sure. Or
It's like
great.
Yeah.
the only thing that can pull, like January was rough, y'all. Like, and the only thing that can pull those of us who like are know how to tap into that kind of expression
Hmm.
is just by like doing it and like forcing yourself to, because it's it's healing in so many ways. Obvious, obvious. I'm not saying anything we don't already know.
Well, I mean, I think you very much are saying something that people don't know. And I find that a lot because where we do a lot of events where, um, I always joke that our clientele is soccer moms, but it really is. It's like the majority of our customers that come to like our paint nights and terrarium nights and stuff are like early 30 to late 50s women. And I always tell my single friends, be like, hey man, like you should maybe go to a paint night once in a while. Um, but and to see some of them get so stressed out, and I'm like, you're painting a wine glass. Relax. It's fun. It's not, none of these are gonna hang in an art museum. It's about having fun with your friends, and the process of making it is what you're here for. And then I tell them, I'm like, if you don't like it, you just drink out of it until you do. So,
Love it. It's also like I think there are different, right? Like for us, it's music. I think painting would stress me out. I don't know, but like it's like finding to what is most naturally going to come forth from your like fountain of whatever. Like that is so helpful to know. And you don't know unless you try.
right. But I think if someone explained to you is like, you're stressing out about painting is kind of like you're wanting it to be perfect and like
Totally.
just enjoy the process. I think like, someone who's a creative person, if I explained it to you that way, you'd be like, oh, yeah, you're 100% right. But there are people like we do figure drawing and people are like, oh, I could never do that. And I'm like, you absolutely can. Like no one takes their figure drawing piece and like runs off and sells it for $1,000. It's practice. It's fun. It's relaxing. It kind of puts your brain in a different, you know, you're not thinking about the email you didn't answer or the bill you didn't pay. And,
Yeah.
you know, you're just wondering why you can't draw that hand right.
Yeah, I think there's so much pressure on people to, focus on like so-called productive activities,
Mm-hmm.
which are usually like in a capitalist society linked to like, I think, non-creative pursuits. And I think it like kind of alienates people from their like creative selves and it takes some, maybe wayfinding or guiding to get people to a point where they're the creativity's flowing from within, and they're kind of in that like flow state, I think.
Yeah, if you didn't, I know I always like um try to take a step back when thinking about this stuff because I'm like, why doesn't it come naturally to everyone? It's because like some people didn't weren't put in 10 years of piano lessons like I was.
Yeah, yeah,
Like didn't have access to that stuff or didn't have parents who s- like understood the value of that in their bones. And you're like that just like I don't know how, but I'm gonna have a second life as like an educator. Like I don't know how we're gonna fix the kids, but it starts with access to the arts, right?
yeah.
And I feel like that's the next thing in our lives, than Tim and my life, that we have to like f figure out besides making our music.
I One of my good friends was here last night at our figure drawing, and he was talking about how he's going to career day. And I'm like, oh man, you are gonna stress out some parents later that night. Cause he's like, I draw for a living, I make action figures for famous people. And like every kid's gonna go home and be like, Mom, I'm gonna make action figures for a job. And they're gonna be like, I think maybe you should have a fall. You know how parents get. And and I'm like, yeah, you're gonna stress out a lot of parents because but I mean, he does very well. And it's that, especially now, I think there's more and more push and more availability for people to have creative careers and, do not go to school for the sake of just going to school. That was how it was when I was a kid, and there's people that are still paying off those debts. So
Oh yeah, definitely. I mean, Tim and I both work full time. Like we don't
yeah,
we're not doing our art full time. But it's this like very necessary outlet that I mean, kudos to your friend who can like get paid to do their art. That's incredible.
yeah,
Um, but until that happens for us, we're working 9 to 5s,
yeah.
and it's okay.
But I mean, and it's I mean, it's slightly misleading. He's also like he draws for a living, but he's also a graphic designer and he manages like a greeting card company. So like it's a whole it's all art based, but it's not always the stuff you want to do. So
Totally. Still very cool.
oh yeah, yeah. So it's those of us that get to, I'm constantly like forgetting that I'm at work, and I'll be watching a
That sounds
comedy.
nice.
Yeah, it's like I'll be watching a comedy show that we put together, and then halfway through the show, you're like, "Oh yeah, I'm at work right now. This is great." And then you take a sip of your beer and have some food and laugh, and you're like, "It's the best job ever." So,
Mhm.
um, do you guys where this is your first album? You guys work part time, sorry, full time. Are you considering doing like touring or like yeah? I see
Yeah, we're
Sam nodding.
considering like, yeah, I think we've talked about like trying to do a little regional tour. Maybe it's mid-Atlantic or something like that. At least, we'd both love to play in the places where we grew up, like a Richmond or Baltimore show, and so I think we could do a little East Coast tour perhaps, but and relatively easily, like we both have jobs where there's some remote flexibility at least, and so um, yeah, I think someday we'd like to.
Someday sooner than later.
Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah. No, 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 no. Like
Sam's
I
back in the
think,
car already.
yeah,
yeah,
back on
yeah. There we go.
I-95.
Yeah.
But yeah, I've yeah, I've driven down I-95 at 3 in the morning with 103-degree fever. Like I can multitask on I-95 and like it's my solid state. But yeah, I think organizing uh a mid-Atlantic or like an East Coast tour is probably going to be something we try to do in the next year.
You,
Um,
you guys should just do the shows on 95, like get like a van and do the looper in the front seat and
There
take everybody on
we
the road
go.
trip.
oh my gosh, we would get so many tickets.
For what?
I feel like I love this concept. Don't think there are permits for that, but sign me up. Sign
Yeah,
me
but it's
up.
kind of smoking the bandit style. It's not illegal till they catch you. And then when they pull you over,
uh,
it's going to take them a long time to figure out what they're going to write the ticket for.
Right, like going 30 in the right lane. Like what?
Yeah,
How mad could they be?
right.
But yeah, I think the it's just going to require a bit more planning, uh, especially because it would be our first time. Like
Mhm.
that's a whole nother learning curve. Is like not just booking shows in your own city, but figuring out how to support another band on a tour. And like that's very exciting and will happen. It's just a matter of when.
Yeah, I mean that's one of my favorite things is, and where we're kind of it's hard to explain our business because we do so many different things because we're all over the road because I just don't I get bored, really. That's what it is. And it's all I the number one thing I always say to my business partner is that's future Andy's problem. And then he's like, and what does future Andy say? I'm like, future Andy says past Andy's an asshole. But it's just like I love to kind of just be like, this is what we're doing. And he's like, how are we gonna do that? I'm like, we'll figure it out. And it's the number of skills you pick up as you go, the weird experiences you end up with. We had a write to the Army Corps of Engineers to give permission to run one of our events. And it was just like I never thought that would happen, that would never be a thing. And but then then you're like, oh, so I finally heard back from the Army Corps of Engineers, and people be like, what? It's just a weird, you know, fun stories. So
I feel like the more random, the better too, because it's like it just expands what it can even be possible.
yeah, for sure. And yeah, and then it's like who someone said art is theft, and it's like we're forever seeing events. Like I'll hop on to like Eventbrite and be like, what's going on in San Francisco, and see what's going on somewhere else, and I'll be like, well, there's no reason why we can't do that here. And then people are like, oh my god, that's such a great idea. And be like, yeah, I wish it was mine. It wasn't. I'm not gonna take credit for it, but so.
Yeah, I think there's a book, Steal Like an Artist. I don't know if you've
Oh
come
yeah,
across
maybe
that
that's what I'm
one.
thinking.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Artist theft. I think it's just about, doing it in a way that is you know, I think respectful to, whatever original work or, original idea. And like, yeah, I mean, I think we're all just like out here, drawing influence from each other and just like inspiration from each other.
And there's no way to not do that. Like even the most you know, seemingly original things. When Star Wars came out, it was like groundbreaking and no one's seen anything like it. But then if you like really dove into what George Lucas was into, you're like, oh, I mean, that's kind of like this samurai movie. And, the moon space station is like this from a sci-fi short that no one's ever heard of. And so it's just, you can't, it's almost scary to the point where sometimes you get an idea and be like, did I have that idea? Or am I forgetting that I heard that somewhere? And
Yeah, we're always like, is that an original thought?
yeah. I mean, I saw we had a local stand-up comic at one of our shows, hysterical guy. His name's Mo Musa, and he does a whole bit about how he's taking one of those hair growth, is it Hims? I don't know, some hair growth pill. And he's like, I'm taking this pill to be more attractive to women, but the side effect is I'm less attracted to women because it like kills your libido.
Oh,
And it's a super funny bit. It's really great. And I'd seen him do it a bunch of times. And then I went and saw Jim Jeffries, who's like a huge stand-up comic, do the same bit. And it's like they didn't steal it from each other. It's an experience that you go through where you're like, oh yeah, that makes perfect and it's funny. And so it's really interesting how like those ideas can come to like evolve at the same time.
it's like the way that language evolves too is so fascinating to me, and the way we just like mirror behavior and facial expressions and vocal expressions, and the way like not even thinking about that, how that translates into music or
Mm-hmm.
songwriting. It's just a very human thing to be like picking up on signals all of the time and then interpreting it and then seeing what comes out may or may not be interesting.
And how language evolves to me is always so interesting, and especially like slang because I have like my kids are in their 20s, and you know my youngest will text me something, I'll text back and be like, that's so Ohio, and they'll be like, stop, don't do that. And I'd be like, stop being skibbity toilet, and they're like, knock it off.
uh, yeah, I can't begin to understand the evolution of Gen Z slang.
Oh my god, it's so great. And what was it? I was at an event or something, and someone's like, "Oh, you need to tell them that she ate and left no crumbs." And I'm like, "No, I'm like my youngest is non-binary. They're not a she." And they're like, "No, no, that's the slang." And I'm like, "All right." And I'm texting them like I have zero idea what this means, but
That's
Context clues.
fascinating.
I
yeah.
think it's just going on context clues. But then we reinterpret that, right?
Yeah,
And
yeah.
that becomes its own thing that is what's the I can't I don't even want to say it out loud. But like chuggy. Remember that nightmare?
What is what is
Oh, it was like
that?
2020, like Gen Z was calling millennial normies chuggy.
Oh,
And
that's new. I haven't heard that one.
it's gone now. It's out
Yeah.
of the lexicon, thank God, because it
But I'm
like
a
hurt.
dad, so I feel like I can always use it. Because part of being a dad means you use stuff when it's out of the lexicon, thinking you're cool.
Yeah,
No,
yeah.
only self-awareness here.
Yeah. No, it's yeah, it's I was I feel like this has been kind of like a thing recently because the last interview we talked a lot about language and I interviewed Karen Stoles now.
Mm,
She's a linguist and she wrote a book called Bitch and it's like the history of the word bitch and how it was used to like used against women and you know even people in the LGBTQ community, and then like how there's that kind of natural move where they try to take that language back, and
Mhm, mhm.
it's really fascinating how I feel like maybe not most, a lot of arguments that people have is because they're using the same word and meaning two different things.
Yeah.
So
um,
it's
yeah, it's so cool. Like, that also makes me think of this song. Do you know the band 79.5? They have
no.
a song called BDFQ, short for Bitch Don't Fucking Quit.
Okay.
Um,
What were they called again?
79.5, like the just like the a radio station.
Yeah.
Um, but we're with the artists from that band, Lola and her songwriting partner. Um, we're singing that in a choir format, plugging the Brooklyn
Oh,
Choir Project.
interesting.
And it's just it what you were saying about that book and that linguist, like it's there's so many ways to use that word. This is a fun way. This is like the
Yeah.
most fun way.
Yeah, and it is an extremely versatile word, almost as versatile as fuck. But
Totally.
you can use it in very harsh ways, or there's that where I see a lot of women refer to their friends as their bitch, that kind of shit, and it's yeah, it's language is really interesting, and I I hate when people don't one of my pet peeves is when you get people my age or older complaining that the younger generation doesn't know how to drive stick shift. Like somehow that is a moral degradation of society. I'm like, they also don't know how to use the telegraph or smoke signals. Like, why should they know how to use obsolete things? And
Uh,
it's just, I feel like it's kind of all this things need to be the way it was when I first dealt with them, and they shouldn't ever change. And like language, a lot like that, and music, I think, is also one of those things where when I would say like early teens through late teens, everyone has like their music that like really registered with them and always sticks with them. And a lot of people, when that kind of trend changes, that's when they're like, oh, that's not quote unquote real music,
mm,
you know?
yeah, yeah. We've talked about this and we've tried to identify what leads to that because I've heard people say that their music taste freezes after they're in college or like whatever like late teen years and you know for Sam and I that's kind of mystifying because ours what we're into is constantly evolving and like um I think what I'm into now is so different than what I was into even only a couple of years ago. And
Well,
some of the themes resonate, some of the feelings resonate, but
so,
like,
so
yeah,
Tim, let me ask you an interesting question because I think this will be fun. What was
yeah.
the first album you owned, and what was the
Ooh.
most recent album you purchased?
Okay, let's see. So the first album that I owned, I mean, it was probably like Good Charlotte or like a boy band.
Yeah. Okay.
I distinctly remember though, like owning some kind of like you know uh 90s era like Walkman and spinning Good Charlotte Lifestyle of the Rich and Famous, which is like yeah, if that was what I was into now, it'd be kind of embarrassing. But
Yeah, but I
most
bet you if it
recent,
comes on
yeah,
the radio, you'd probably still sing along to it.
yeah. Oh man, yeah, yeah. That was elementary school. But most recent album I purchased, we were in Kingston, New York, diving for records, and I picked up Horse Lords. Um, the record is called what is this one called?
Comradely
Yeah,
object.
that's right. Comradely Objects. Yeah. Which is nothing like Lifestyles of the Rich and Famous. This is a
But
band from Baltimore, Maryland, and it's all like instrumental.
this might be my new favorite question because like I literally just came up with this, but like my first album was Air Supply's Greatest Hits, and the
Oh, yeah.
last album I bought was Beach Creeper, which is a like rockabilly horror themed band out of DC. Yeah, I think they're out
Uh,
of DC. It's just like wow, that is a arc.
Rockabilly. Nice.
Yeah. What about you, Sam? What was the first and most recent?
Well, the first ooh, well, together, I got them for Christmas.
Okay.
Faith Hill's Breathe,
Okay.
Mandy Moore's Candy. Both very like pop, country pop. And then most recently, oh, what was it? The Frank chickens?
The Frank
Um,
chickens.
no, they're called Frank chickens. They're
Frank.
an 80s like rock synth pop
Okay.
uh, band from Japan that like you know when you're in a record store and the price point is like on the higher side, like in the like 25, $35, and the art is incredible.
Yep.
And there's like no, you've never heard of them, but you can tell just from those two things that you definitely should have.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So yeah, I picked that up on a whim and I'm very happy I did. It's
I,
so
I
fun.
I do the same thing with craft beer. Is like if you have a good pun name or good artwork, I'm buying the beer. And to this day, I my absolute favorite, the brewery was Foulmouth, and it was red background with like yellow line artwork, and it had shirtless Putin with a guitar, and it was called Communist Synthesizer. And I'm like, I love this so
Yes.
much. And people are like, how's the beer? I'm like, I don't remember.
Yeah,
That's
that's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like it's fun, even if it's a beer.
Yeah.
Like I think it's more true with records, but like also if it's a beer, you're like identifying on a taste level
Yeah.
from the artwork alone. And like whatever, also taste can change, but like that's what resonates. It's this like aesthetic appreciation for all of the elements that go into it and like the thought behind it. And um, don't I won't get started on taste.
Um,
Um,
but kind of on the same thing, like with art and because like I'm a big I love concert poster. I actually have a like literally right here next to me this
Yes, show and tell.
concert poster that I got to get framed. So it's you know
I love that.
yeah. So I got it at a concert. It's been sitting around my house forever, and I'm like I gotta frame that. So um, but like that stuff super appeals to me. Um, your song Night Driver, the Night Drive
Driving.
Driving. Sorry. Um, you had is all illustrated by or animated by someone, right?
Yeah, I did that.
You did the animation?
Yeah, it was a
Okay.
lot. I'm never doing that again. I'm a huge indie animation like buff is a strong word, but like appreciator. For Tim and I both, we've been going to animation screenings our whole relationship, and like
Oh, cool.
I just love it because I love like sad Eastern European aesthetics, and like that's where a lot of Lithuania, incredible animation coming out of there, like still, and like the Cal art stuff. Anyway, long way of saying, I was like, I need to know if this is my thing, right?
Oh,
It's
so
like
this kind of like goes back to what we were talking about. You don't know till you try.
other,
Yeah.
yeah, you don't know
Yeah.
until you try. And I just love hand-drawn animation. And so I was like, okay, let me try that. It took years off of my life. Um, but I'm glad I did it once, and now I know I don't ever need to do that again. But the process was very long, painstaking. My hands are still somehow covered in graphite. It was anyway, what were you curious about
Oh, I
with
was
the
just
video?
curious about the who like who I was gonna ask who did it. I remember seeing that it was animated, but I didn't remember by who. So but that's cool that yeah, that's I would never I don't think I would even know where to begin to do animation.
I took a class at SVA 12 years ago, which is in Manhattan, and I was just like, I've been obsessed with it forever. And I thought maybe this is another mode of expression, but
Uh
no.
have you are you are you guys very familiar with Monty Python? Do you enjoy Monty Python?
Yes.
So there is a documentary's not the right word. It's like a telling of Graham Chapman's story, and he was like the member he was the first member to pass away, years ago. And it's all animated, and all the surviving members voiced themselves and other characters in it. But like every section of his life is done in a different animation style. And like the style, like when he was struggling with alcoholism, is just like really dark and creepy and weird. It is a gorgeous. I wish I could remember.
Oh, I made a note. This is
Yeah,
great. I found
I
it.
wish I could remember what the name of it was.
A liar's
Uh,
autobiography.
yes, yeah, that's it. Yeah.
Oh, I'm a very fast Googler.
Jeez, I guess so. Yes, it's fantastic. I saw it streaming somewhere. I don't know if it's still streaming, but I'm sure if you Googles it that fast, I'm sure you can find it.
Oh, thank you. I love this rack.
Yeah.
Monty Python is like it's in the blood. And
Oh,
I like
then you're gonna love this. Yeah.
this is like probably where my love of animation came from, right?
Oh, because of Terry Gilliam stuff. Sure. Yeah. Nice. Um, but to do the stuff that your PR people want us to do. So Hefty Wimpy is out. Where can people find it? What are your socials, websites, all the business end.
Tim can handle
Great.
the business.
Go
Yeah,
Tim.
sure. Well, Hefty Wimpy can be found anywhere you like streaming. And I always like to nudge people towards Bandcamp
That
as
a lot of people do, yeah.
yeah. But yeah, and we're going to be playing our release show at
On
Hard Bar
May 1st, right?
in yeah, that's right, in
Yeah.
Brooklyn. And so we're very excited about that. Um, and yeah, what else?
And you can find us
On the socials.
at Manly Band on Instagram. Our website is manly.xyz. And we've also got a bunch of videos on YouTube
And
also.
it's Manly, Manlee.
Yep.
Yeah. I say that for the dyslexic people out there like me that struggle to spell things correctly regardless. So, this was awesome, guys. Is your album going to be on vinyl?
Yes.
Yeah, that's cool. That way someone can answer the question my first album was, and my most recent was Hefty Wimpy by Manly.
Yes.
That's good. That's the only acceptable answer for the next guest. So
very exciting.
But thank you guys so much. And again, I will apologize on air. I screwed up the last recording because I just failed to write it on my calendar. I wish I had a better excuse. I was just stupid. But this was a lot of fun. I use it a lot. But if you guys come out, the Boston Providence way, I'll try to swing in and catch the show.
Yes, please.
Awesome. And sorry, didn't mean to step on you.
Thank you for having us.
Thanks so much for having us.
Yeah, anytime. I hope you set a high bar for future podcast interviews.
Absolutely.
Nice.
This was a lot of fun.
Excellent. Listeners, we'll catch you guys again here next Monday when I talk to someone else, and I don't ever know who that is, so I don't even know why I keep bringing it up like that. But we'll figure it out next week, and we'll see you then. And thanks for checking out the show today, listeners. If you enjoyed the content today, you can go over to patreon.com/Inebri-art to support the show. You can join over there for just a few dollars a month and help us provide this fun content that you just checked out. You can also email us at Inebri-art.com with your questions, complaints, and concerns, or you can find us on all social medias at Inebri-art or at Inebri-art6 on Instagram. And also don't forget to check out our other shows, Bar Talk Podcast, Old Colony Cast, Inebri-art, and all the other shows on the Inebri-art Network, which you can find at Inebri-art.com. Thanks again for listening.